Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In today's episode we are going to do a crafting tutorial. And in this episode we're going to build a Tudor style 3-story building. Now I talked about it on the battle report that I wanted to do a generic kind of piece of terrain, specifically this building, that I could use maybe in that plantation I was talking about for Raise the Black, the upcoming Blood and Plunder expansion. Or maybe I could use it in my regular Blood and Plunder game. Or I can use it in Blood and Valor. It has a kind of a European feel. You could also use this for Dungeons and Dragons, or you could use it for Warhammer. I like a very versatile piece of terrain, so that's a good thing about crafting your own terrain, is you can kind of customize it any way you want. So this particular one that we're going to build in this video, it kind of has a 17th century feel to it. But you could use it in the 18th century, and like I said, it can easily fit into any fantasy kind of game that you want to do. So let's take a look at it. I have the finished product here. So let's try to get it in the camera view. So this is, you can see we got 3 floors here. I've added a chimney. I've done some new things in here I've never actually tried before. I did frame out the windows with matchsticks, which I really, really like. It came out a lot better. Before I used to just cut it out of a dollar store foam board and just leave it that way. But I think this adding this matchstick really adds a lot to it. So anyways, this is kind of just kind of get a view of the whole building here. This is kind of what it looks like. And what kind of sets it out of the Tudor style is it has an offset top from the bottom. So the bottom's a little bit smaller. Then usually has this offset corner on it. That's pretty standard in most Tudor style buildings. So I didn't go really outlandish with the roof. In the fantasy games, they may have a bowed roof and all sorts of crazy stuff. I kind of stayed a little more historically correct. Again, because I want to use it for a historical game, but you also could use this easily in a fantasy game as well. So that's what we're going to build today. I do plan on doing a painted tutorial on this house building afterwards. That'll be next week's episode, but in this episode we are going to craft it. So let's get down to the table and check that out. But before we do, I just wanted to encourage you guys, if you guys like this, what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you hit that like button, and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get firsthand information of when I do my projects, and you guys can see what I'm up to. All right, so let's get down to the table and see what I'm up to. All right. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the materials that we're going to need to build this Tudor style building. So we'll start with the ready board, dollar store foam board. So I get it at the Dollar Tree here in Canada, but I'm sure it's available in other crafting stores elsewhere. So I got these certain piles. I'm going to show you kind of the dimensions I use. So 6 inches, so you got by 3, and I got times 4, so 4 of those. And then we have a 6 3/4 and a 3 inch times 2 of those. And then these are the 2 our end pieces here where our roofs are. So we got 7 inches tall, 7.5 wide, and then 3 inches is how high it is. So most of my buildings, that's a standard height that I use for 28 millimeter miniatures, is a 3 inch high wall. So this is kind of the main floor that everything's going to be attached to. So I'm just showing you the box inside is going to be 6 by 6, and then 7 1/4 and 7.5. Now the reason why there's a little extra is because you got to take in consideration for the width of the foam board as well. So when you start gluing them together, you need a little bit extra. That's why you have to add a little half to it or a quarter to it. So I'm just kind of showing you, essentially what we're going to be doing with that. All right, so let's move on to some of the other materials we're going to need. Once I've cleaned this pile up. Get it out of the way here. We don't need it here. All right, so popsicle sticks. You're going to need some popsicle sticks. And I usually just trim the ends off. I'm just kind of showing you that's what I do. I just use these clippers here and trim them off. And get them to looking like that. Kind of just more of a rectangle than with the rounded edges. You don't want the rounded edges. So then I put this texture into them to make it look more like wood. And I use an X-Acto blade here. And I actually just score these little pieces. So it does take some time, but I like the way it looks. Some people use foam. You can use foam to do this as well, and you can use a dowel or a pencil or something like that to put the wood grains in. I prefer to use popsicle sticks because I like the strength that it gives the overall piece. And, I mentioned before you can use Mod Podge and other things to strengthen. I prefer to just use real wood. And, it's kind of a little more satisfying to build it out of the kind of materials you'd find in real construction. So I definitely, I like to use popsicle sticks and such. So, but a regular popsicle stick doesn't really have any texture to it. So you need to carve it up and give it those wood grains. And it works well with this little X-Acto blade. So I got a whole bunch that I've already pre-done. All right, you're going to need matchsticks, lots of matchsticks. We're going to do the framing out of the windows with those. So we're going to need a lot of matchsticks for this project. Here's some cardstock. So this is a box of Lucky Charms, my favorite family-size Lucky Charm box that I use to make. So we're going to make our shingles out of this. So really, I kind of showing you that this is a 1/2 inch. These are all 1/2 inch squares that are on this. I use this little, my working board here, and that's how or my mat, sorry. And I just kind of measure them out, and I put them in these little strips. And then I cut them out in these long strips. I'm just essentially showing you how I put, how I make my shingles, essentially. So then you want to cut it like halfway, or just a little past halfway. And you just go along here, just randomly cutting different sizes. They don't all have to be uniform. They can be something bigger, smaller, whatever. You kind of want a variety of shapes and sizes. It just makes your shingles look better at the end when you got all these different shapes and sizes and stuff. It matches the time period better. All right, so then you go in between here, and you kind of, I usually cut every second one, or sometimes I cut every one, or every third one, whatever. Just do it randomly through the whole thing, and you'll get random looking shingles. So you get something like that. And so, yeah, I'm just going to show you another one. But I will go ahead and I like to, what I'm showing you is all these different things in advance. I like to get all I call it ingredients. I like to get all my supplies and stuff that I'm going to need for the build constructed before I actually start building. I hate having to stop to create more stuff, so I just make it in advance. Here, I just made a whole bunch of shingles so I can just get this project all done. So we got, this is insulation foam. I usually get this at the Home Depot. That's your standard Pink Panther, the pink stuff. And we're going to use it to cut bricks. So I've shown this in a previous video, the technique for this. And I'm probably going to use probably 3 or 4 different types of size bricks in this construction. I've decided that I'm going to do the base of this building in individual bricks. In the past, I would have done dollar store foam board and just kind of drawn in the bricks and just glued it in strips, and so it's much faster. And I've done that in some of my previous builds. But I really like the way it looks when you individually put individual bricks. It's a lot better. It looks more authentic. I definitely did a lot of this brickwork in my church build, and I really like the way it looks. So I'm just pointing at the different size bricks I'm going to make. I'm even going to go down to little squares. It looks great when you put them all together, all these different size bricks on the brickwork on your wall. It gives it a really good look to it. As you can see, I did a whole plate already. So the other thing you got to do with these bricks is you got to give them texture. So I use my old box with rocks in it. And all you do is you stick the bricks in there. Again, I've shown this in the previous video before. You're just tumbling these insulation little bricks in here. And when you throw them in the rocks here, you give them texture. So it might be a little hard to show you in this video. You might not be able to see it real close up. But I'm kind of showing you the difference between the two. There's one that's not tumbled and one that is. You can see the one that is tumbled has texture, and it actually changes the color of it too. It's not that pink color anymore. Not that that really matters, but you're more going for the texture. And it also smoothes all the edges. Right, I'm showing you that on these dollar store foam board pieces that I've cut out, I'm going to peel the paper off the one side of them for now. I'm just going to... And why I do that is I like to leave a little strength on the other side. I've pre-cut the sizes of the windows I want and the sizes of doors I want. So that's what those little pieces I was showing you. I pre-measured those out, and then I've cut them out. And usually I use them for a template, so I can measure it out on my insulation foam here. Well, sorry, my dollar store foam board. So I'm just showing you all the different pieces that I'm peeling the paper off. Essentially, I'm going to do all of them. I'm going to peel all the paper off one side of them, because we're going to texturize those. We're going to use a foil ball, and we're going to texturize them. On here, I'm just going to use, that's a dowel I'm holding that I use. I've shown that in a previous video. I use that to score into dollar store foam board and make a pattern on it. Right now, I'm just making a door. Essentially just making some planks, and then I'll give it a wood texture. This is my favorite way of just doing a door. I know some people do castings, and some people actually use, you can use the real popsicle sticks and other stuff. But I like the raised look for this specifically for the door, so I usually just do the doors in foam. I feel like I have more control over the way it looks. So I'm just showing you. This is how I just put the textures in. Just kind of give it a bunch of pass. And I might rescore the lines separating the boards just to give it more definition. I'm just showing you. So it just gives it a wood look. And the other two pieces I'm going to use for windows. So I'm kind of showing you. I kind of measured it out, and I do all my doors a little standard size. So remember, those walls are 3 inches high. Usually what I do is I take 2 pieces of dollar store foam, because they make a proper size for stairs, actually, for 28 mil. If you put 2 of those on top of each other, it's the perfect height for a stairwell. So usually what I do is I put those down first and put the door on top, and that's kind of the height of how I want the doorway. And right now I'm just scoring where I want the bricks to go up to. So originally when I started this, I was only going to go halfway up the wall and do bricks. But as you see later in the video, I end up deciding to do the entire bottom in bricks, which I'm really happy that I decided to go in that direction. Originally, I was just going to go like my previous buildings and just kind of go up the bottom. But I've never actually done a building where I did the entire bottom in bricks. So I kind of decided I want to do the whole thing. I haven't decided that at this point in the video, but I will decide that. I'm just telling you I'm scoring these lines on here. It is a good reference too. So you kind of know where the height is all the way around the square on the bottom. kind of where the door is. It kind of just gives you a good reference point. We're going to cover it all in bricks anyway, so it's not going to really matter. So I'm just showing you that I've done that on all of them. So I'm about to texturalize them. So yeah, just showing you that I'm going to put the bricks there. But obviously I told you I'm going to change that. We're going to do the whole thing in bricks. But first we're going to texturalize it with this foil ball. So this is a great way to get a stucco kind of look to your walls. And some of these walls that I'm doing here will be exposed. And of course, we're going to paint them up. But it's going to look fantastic with all that texture on there. So it's an easy way to add some texture to it. And you could just do your wall like that. You probably you don't even have to put any bricks on there if you didn't want to. You could just leave it like that. All right, just showing you, I'm going to trace out the windows. So remember, I pre-cut that piece of foam to kind of the size I want for the window. And really, you know what? I kind of just eyeball it. Sometimes I'll take a miniature and just see if it's the right size. I don't really have a set size. I just kind of whatever feels right. So then I make this as the style of window is popular on Tudor style buildings or 17th century. I'm just showing you that I've cut out 6 little squares in those boxes. So I knew I had to stay within the boxes. And I'm going to frame it out. I use this tacky glue here. I'm going to frame it out with those matchsticks I talked about. So this is a step I've never done before. Usually I just left it before without the matchsticks. And I would maybe add a ledge afterwards or something like that. But I'm so glad I went with the matchstick. This looks so much better. And it makes the windows look a lot more sharper and it looks more accurate for the time period. So there's quite a few windows I'm going to have to do. I'm not going to show you them all. I do plan on doing several windows. Here we go. This is all of them completed. You can see we've done quite a few. And I cut a hole in the main base board. And that's because I want to put tea lights in here. I want to be able to put tea lights in the second floor. This roof is not going to be movable on there. I'm not doing magnets and stuff like that. But the bottom will be open. So you can still put your miniatures in the bottom of the building and put the building on top of it. Just showing you I'm using that black craft paint multi-surface. And I'm going to cover all these pieces. All right, we're all done. Now it's important to let them fully dry. And then we're going to have to paint the opposite side. So what happens with this dollar store foam board? It'll warp if you only paint the one side. Because remember I talked about the paint shrinking and it'll pull on the actual dollar foam board and bend it crooked. So what I'm doing is I just painted the other side. So right now I'm showing you the tacky glue because we are going to add some parchment paper to the windows. So I use parchment paper, so it's opaque. You can't really see through it, but the light can get through it. And that's kind of what you want. You want it in, you don't want to be able to see inside the structure because we're not going to do the interior on this particular build. But you want to be able to have the light come out. So it'll really have a nice effect when you put tea lights in there if you have that parchment paper in there. So essentially I just glued them all with white tacky glue to the back of all these pieces. Just showing you that I've completed them all and done all that parchment paper. Now, just a note, if some of the stuff is still warped after you paint both sides, I just put like a book on top of it or something like that for, half a day or something, and it seemed to straighten it out. Remember, I'm going to be hot gluing these pieces together, so it doesn't matter if it's a little bowed. I usually use hot glue, so it glues together much faster. I don't like to use PVA glue or white glue when I glue the structure together because it takes too long to dry and it's hard to manipulate it to be completely straight. So I'd rather just use hot glue. It's much faster too. I'm able to rapidly assemble the structure here. So I'm kind of just showing you, I'm just kind of facing out which way I'm going to do the bottom first. And just that line is a good reference to where the bottom of the piece is compared to the top. I just showed you my hot glue gun, just purely just to show you how I plan on putting it together. So there we go. That's that line we left in there. So it just kind of lets me know where the bottom of this is, opposed to the top. It's a little more important than the pieces with the windows. I'm showing you the piece that's the actual back, which is not really that exciting. But that piece is, I didn't add any windows in there because we are going to attach a fireplace or a chimney to the side of the building. And we need a flat surface to glue that chimney to. So the other sides pretty well have windows. So I'm just going to go through here and glue these pieces on. This is what I mean by you're able to manipulate it, hold it. So once you glue it, you got maybe half a minute to fiddle diddle with it and try to get it to be as straight as possible as you can. Kind of lift it up, look at it. Sometimes you might actually have to hold it for a sec, just so you're nice and straight. As you can see, I'm kind of bowing in the center, so I'm pushing my finger in there to straighten it out. And just hold it for a second. It'll dry and it'll harden in that spot, and then you're good. You can move on to the next one. Otherwise, it may bow a little bit, and you don't want that because the pieces won't line up quite right. So this area here, I'm showing you, that's actually, I have that piece upside down, so don't do that. Again, I put those references, but as you can see, I glued it on wrong, but I fixed it. I glued it on the right way. So much for the references, eh? I still make mistakes. I'm still not paying attention. It's certainly a lot more challenging, I tell you, to try to put this together while I'm filming at the same time. I'm used to just going at it, and I could craft for hours putting these things together. But I wanted to stop and specifically film certain portions of it, just so you kind of know how to put some of the stuff together. So again, just lifting it up, measuring it. See, it only takes a few seconds with hot glue to dry, which is why I use it. It's just so much easier to build this way. Some people don't like the wisps afterwards. Yes, it leaves strings everywhere, and sometimes you have blobs that you have to cut off afterwards, and yeah, it can be tricky. But at the end of the day, it's much faster to rapidly assemble it with hot glue. Yeah, you can see I almost did it upside down again. Oh, boy. All right, so I've glued all the pieces on the bottom. So this is your bottom of your house, or your three-story building here. And I'm going to leave the bottom open, again, so you can put your miniatures in there and just put the building on top of it. It's a place where you can put them. I mean, I'm not going to do the roof a tearaway on this particular build. But you can still put your miniatures underneath it, and especially when you're playing Blood and Plunder, I think that's just fine. All right, so I glued all the top pieces on. I know I've kind of just jumped a step there, but I just essentially did the same thing to the top. I glued all those pieces together, and I made sure I lined up the blank pieces on the same side so I can glue the chimney on. All right, so then I add these support beams. It's just more dollar store foam, and I kind of glue them in between the top. Otherwise, it kind of bows a little bit, and you need to add some strength to your roof. So I add these on. Just showing you, I am planning on painting them. So once I glue them on, I usually paint them. It just adds more strength. More, like I said, more craft paint, the better. So right now we're just assembling the door. They use these little beads. It's my favorite for a handle on a door. I just cut the ends off some smaller, crafting sticks that I got from the dollar store, and they work as good hinges. There's my 2 pieces of dollar store foam board I just stuck together for stairs. And I just, used my dowel and put some textures on it. Just showing you where I'm planning on putting the door, but I think you guys know where I'm going to put it, but I'm just showing you anyways. All right, so I kind of all glue together. So this is the chimney I was talking about. So this is, again, pink insulation foam. And I kind of just roughly cut the piece out. Took some sandpaper. Make sure you wear a mask when you're sanding. Just a safety tip when you're doing insulation foam like that. It's not good for your lungs. Make sure you have a mask on. But I just sanded that and smoothed it out. And I just kind of place it. This is really how I craft a lot of things. I just kind of put it in place. Does it look right? Is it the right size? And if I have to alter it, I alter it before I permanently seal it on there. But I do plan on texturizing it first. So I'm going to use that same tinfoil ball. And then I'm going to use that dowel. And there we go. I'm just kind of... so I went over it a few times. I even actually went with a pencil and tried to get it even deeper. And at the very end, I actually used my X-Acto blade to even go even deeper in some of the areas. So it just really gives that emphasize the stone. All right, so this is more cardstock. I think this is Joss Lewis a cake box. Go raid your garbage. There's lots of cardstock there to use. You don't have to buy that stuff. It's readily available. A lot of packaging, as you can see here. It's my Joss Lewis. By the way, those are fantastic if you haven't had one. Anyways, it was so hard eating those for this video. So there I just kind of glued those pieces onto my roof. So I'm just showing you about to do the bricks. And I'm going to do tacky glue. So I'm going to go away from the hot glue now. And the bricks are a lot easier to put on with this tacky glue. Because the bricks are light enough, the tacky glue will just keep it in place. It's actually pretty easy to put them on. Similar to the temple build when I put that on there. It was fairly easy to put those bricks on it and kind of adjust them afterwards. And you have a few moments there to actually have more than a few moments. You probably have 10 to 15 minutes to kind of fiddle with it and get it right before it kind of gets a little hard to move. So I'm really going to spare you me gluing all these bricks on. I'm just telling you where I'm going to put it. And again, originally I only thought I was going to do the bottom, but then I changed my mind. So I have to, before I go up the wall with the bricks, I have to put the wooden supports. So on a Tudor-style building, you would have wooden supports underneath where the top level overlaps. Some of these supports, overlaps the bottom. So sometimes these supports will go right to the ground, and then sometimes you just need to, just put it underneath. So I'm using this... you can get these at Home Depot. They're for cleaning out the edges of your windows and stuff like that to get paint out. And they're great for scraping wood textures into insulation foam. So I just used a pencil to make the round shapes on the end to make it look like a cut timber. And then I use that tool to give a wood texture to my foam. So I'm just kind of showing you, I'm planning on putting those 3 per side. But I can't go up the wall with the bricks until I put them on. So there's a completed side for you. With the door. And of course, I'm going to have to do the other sides, but I kind of stopped right here just so you guys can kind of see what I'm planning on doing. Have all those supports in place. And then I plan on going up the sides with the bricks. And then you can see I added another matchstick over top the bottom of the windows just to add kind of like a ledge. And I did a framing around the door. And I put some more raised bricks above it. It just gives it a more three-dimensional look. Now, of course, this is all going to be covered in black craft paint when I paint the whole thing. I'm going to cover the whole thing and then repaint it, right? And I just showing you I added a framing of popsicle sticks all the way around the bottom edge of the top level. All right. So just showing you again what I've completed. I've completed pretty well the entire bottom now. All the bricks are completed. I'm so glad I went this way. I really like the way it looks with all the bricks in place on the bottom. I've never done a fully bricked bottom before, and I really like it. I think I'm going to do a few buildings in the future like that. So there's going to be a lot of woodwork going on here. So I'm going to do all the edges with popsicle sticks. I'm going to frame out with, I have some smaller crafting sticks as well. If you go to the dollar store, I go to Dollarama or Dollar Tree, but I'm sure there's dollar stores in your area. They have a section where they have lots of wooden, they have barbecue skewers and popsicle sticks and everything. There's all sorts of wooden size. And I got these, they're almost like stir sticks. But they're perfect for doing this lighter work on these buildings. So I encourage you to check it out. Get a whole bunch of stuff from the dollar store. There's lots of goodies there that you can get to decorate it. Now, a Tudor style building has a lot of embellishments and decorations on there. As you can see, I've put on the standard cross boards on there, and they usually have the windows framed out and it's pretty common to that architectural style. So I wanted to capture that in here with these sticks. I added that little square. I haven't decided if I'm going to make that a sign or I'm going to paint something on it. I haven't decided yet, but I wanted to put it on there, and I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with this. I might make a little sign there. So just going around showing you the entire thing. We're pretty well fabricated the entire bottom now, and now we're going to move to the top. So we're going to address the top. Now, you're probably wondering why I have one side paper and one side shiny. Really, you want both sides shiny, to be honest. Because you're going to glue the shingles over top of it anyways, and it's really hard to paint that shiny side of the cardstock. All right, so I'm creating windows for the top, and I've cut these little dollar store foam like triangles, and I've measured out where the middle of this roof is, and kind of I think they're 1.5 inches from the side of each of the edges, and then I'm going to cut holes in here in this roof. Like, why am I cutting a hole in a roof? It's because when the tea lights are put in there, it'll actually shine through those upper windows. So I'm not going to put another level up there. There's not going to be any platform for your tea lights. So how's the light going to get through? Well, you're going to have to cut a hole in the roof. All right, so now we're fabricating the fronts of those windows. So now I put those little frames up there, but I had to fabricate some new windows. So I just kind of measured the distance between the two, and I'm just going to show you here. I'm just going to put it in place. And then, of course, I framed it out with those matchsticks again, because I really like that matchstick look. And I'm just going to use hot glue them all together. Just showing you what I'm going to do. And then I added more cardstock, made little tops for the roofs. So it's kind of like a mini roof on a roof. But these are the little roofs for your windows. So once that's all done, we're going to move to shingling. So I usually start at the bottom and kind of go a little off the edge of where I've left the cardstock. And we're gonna do this entire roof. Now this took some time. I usually use hot glue. You can use PVA glue. You'll burn your fingers less. But again, I like hot glue because it just dries faster, and it just I really get impatient with this part. I just want to glue it all on, and both methods work fine. Hot gluing it, you might hurt yourself, but it works great. But anyways, here's the finished product. So this is with the roof all glued on. You can see on top of the chimney there, I added a couple of little, kind of little spouts where the smoke would go through. And we're going to paint those up nice. I've added the tea lights in there just to show you what it's going to look like. And this is kind of the finished product. I hope you guys liked this video and enjoyed this this build. So make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when we do our next videos. So thanks everyone. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.